Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today we have another reboot success story. Her name is Lori Rose, and please welcome her to the show. It's nice to see you, Lori.
Hi, nice to meet you and see you, AJ.
Well, thank you. I'd love to hear your story. People love a good success story because a lot of people need encouragement. They've tried losing weight so many times and often lost weight but gained it back, and they give up hope. And that's why we do these stories a couple times a year, just to inspire people that it doesn't matter how long or how deeply you've suffered, any age, it's still possible, I think, for everyone to lose some weight. So I'd love to hear your story and how you did it.
Well, recently or when I started as a kid?
Oh, well, you can go back as far as you want.
Okay, so I was a competitive swimmer from the time I was 8 till I was 19, and always very fit and thin, and lived by the beach and lived in shorts or, a bathing suit pretty much all year round. My father was a PE coach, coached football and gymnastics, and my mother was slim and beautiful until she reached her 50s. Um, when I was 17, between the junior and senior year of high school, my father was a director of a weight loss camp in Hawaii, in Maui. And I went there and proceeded to gain probably 25 to 30 pounds. I grew 2 inches, got breasts, hips, everything else that a young woman, a young teenager entering womanhood starts to get. And came home and came off the plane, and my mom said I looked like a linebacker. She couldn't believe it. I was muscular, but I was, bigger than she'd ever seen me. So that was the first clue that I was heavier than I should be. And people weren't afraid to use the term fat back then when that was probably 1975. And people were not afraid to tell you were fat. My father struggled with weight his whole life and had done numerous diets, and finally ended up doing Overeaters Anonymous, and that's what helped him. And he told me he wouldn't give me any money for back to school clothes till I lost weight. So I had to lose weight on my own and figure it out. And I did. And I ate pretty healthfully. I cut out mayonnaise and tuna salad and ate whole wheat pita bread, and things were starting to be healthy back then. Sprouts came out and people were eating sprouts and all that kind of stuff. So it was very easy to eat healthfully. I didn't ever like meat, so I was more of a fish eater and fruits and vegetables anyway. Processed foods were around. My father fed me ice cream in high school to gain weight because he felt I was too thin swimming, but I couldn't have ice cream for breakfast and then go do an hour and a half workout because I'd feel nauseous and ill. So my battle with weight started in my high school years. Fast forward, I got married, had kids, figured when I was pregnant, I would enjoy it. That was my motto. If I'm going to be fat, I'm going to enjoy it. So I gained 55 pounds with my first child, lost it in about 6 months, breastfed, lost it, got back down to normal. With my second child, I never could get back down to my pre-pregnancy weight. I was always 10 pounds up. But I topped the scale at 199 when I delivered him. And so never really was dieting then, but watched what I ate, breastfed, still was healthy, still exercising. I was an aquatics director, assistant aquatics director at a YMCA. So I was always in the pool, swimming and teaching swimming lessons and exercising. My kids were growing up. Wednesdays became fast food night because mom was tired from working and everything else. And so that was the hump day. And that was the day we'd go to wherever they wanted to go to get something to eat. I wouldn't necessarily eat it, but I lived on a lot of salads and a lot of fish and fruits and vegetables. I've always had a poor self-body image. So for me, even if I was quote unquote normal for my height and weight, I never felt that I was. So I always tried to, I'm a perfectionist and a people pleaser. So I always try to be the best I can be. And food is always a way for me to please people, to cook and to entertain. and have people over, and people are always comfortable and it's always fun, but everything revolved around food, you know. Going to grandma's house revolved around food in the family, and going to my mom's house when I would visit her would revolve around food in the family. At my dad's house, it didn't revolve really around food in the family. It revolved around other things. And so it was just better for me to focus on what worked for me. So I learned at a young age what worked for me. So I've tried many different diets over the years, and none of them really ever worked. All the books are true that say that and I've read all of them, the McDougall program, I've read the China study, I've read How Not to Die, all these books, I've read your wonderful books. So, pardon me?
Oh, I didn't say anything. I'm just
okay.
listening to the story.
So the books that I've read are very true to my beliefs. You know, when we moved up here to the Oregon, to outside of Portland, we moved for our grandchildren, and my husband still lived in California, and he commuted home on the weekends. And so I became a health coach. I went online to go to school, and I learned about 100 different types of ways to eat, from raw to, you know, pescatarian to vegan to whole food, plant-based, everything and everything in between, keto, paleo. What I learned was that keto doesn't work. It actually kills you, because the doctor who designed it actually died from it. But people don't understand that. What's sad to me is that people don't educate themselves on what they're doing to their bodies. But learning all this stuff and having this wealth of information, I still couldn't help myself. So your program came up, and I don't know if I got it from watching What the Health or the Forks Over Knives and following them. Somehow you came up. I went to Ocean Robbins event that he held here, and your name came up, and your name just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. I'm like, I gotta Google this woman and find out who she is. And then I did your reboot up here. It was during COVID, and at the beginning of COVID, and I figured it's better to lose weight than gain weight, you know. And because I had already started gaining weight again, even though I was whole food plant-based, I've been whole food plant-based or vegan for 7 years. It still wasn't working for me. You know, I couldn't figure out why. And then reading the books that you wrote and Dr. Lyle wrote, and you know, processed foods are really bad for you, even vegan processed foods. And so I did what you suggested and ate kale for breakfast and got rid of my sugar cravings, and the weight just dropped off. So my problem is keeping the weight off, and I fluctuate. I'm a thyroid cancer survivor, and my weight still fluctuates. And but I lost 25 pounds on your program, and I'm very proud of that. I'm on it again, and I'm excited to watch the reboot again and follow it diligently and stick to it. My problem is I get lazy. I'm sure other people do too, but I get lazy and don't want to cook. And so I do batch cooking and make a lot of things at once. And it's very helpful for me to just put it in the refrigerator and eat 3 or 4 days, like make a big, huge salad and have it in the refrigerator and just pull out what I want and add what I want to it. And so it's like a day of prepping, but at least you don't have to do it every single day when you're cooking. And that seems to help me a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying, you know what I find fascinating? There was a weight loss camp in Hawaii, and you gained weight at it.
Right. My dad was the director. He called it a fat farm for girls. It was 8-year-olds to 21-year-olds. Well, the reason I gained weight was because I had the key to the pantry. So my roommate.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, my roommate, who was because they had us on a very strict diet, but we could eat what we wanted when we had a day off or whatever. So when we had a day off, we'd go into town, and you know, nachos were there. It was the first time I ever had nachos was in Hawaii, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And we'd eat hot fudge sundaes, and we'd eat all this food because we just felt so starved for the normal foods that we wanted. or thought we wanted, or our brains thought we wanted. And I figured, I was a kid, I always exercised. I never had a problem with weight until then. So, and you're in a bikini the whole time and you don't realize that you're gaining weight, because you just don't, because you're not paying attention to that. You're not really putting on clothes. It wasn't until I tried to put something on to come home that I realized that I had gained so much weight. So yeah, it's pretty funny. It's ironic, I guess, that I was at a farm or a weight loss camp for young women, young girls, and I gained 25 pounds. But I grew 2 inches, got breasts, got hips, became a young woman at that camp because of my body changing so much. And I don't know what my normal set weight would be if I didn't go to that camp, if I would have just grown up normally. And I don't know if I would have had the weight struggles that I have had my whole life because of that.
Your family struggle with
But
weight
yes,
at
I
all?
had the key to the pantry. And pardon
Yeah.
me?
Did other people in your family struggle with their weight at all?
Yeah, my father was always struggled with his weight. He probably gained and lost thousands of pounds over his lifetime. He's now 88. He has been whole food plant-based for 7 years or so. Actually, not completely. He was eating dairy for a while. He and his wife came to visit, and I said, and they were complaining of their joints hurting, arthritis. And I said, Dad, you just need to cut out dairy. You still eat yogurt, plain yogurt, and you need to cut that out. And his wife was going to have a test, and she didn't want to have the dyes. And I said, cut out the dairy, go on an anti-inflammatory diet, look that up, read what it says, and you will not have as much pain. And she didn't. She said it took 2 weeks, and she didn't have to have the test with the dyes, and my dad's pains went away, and they thanked me. So
And you mentioned you attended some event with Ocean Robbins. What was that? Is that what inspired you to go vegan, or were you already vegan at that
I
point?
was already vegan, and I was already a health coach. I had read his dad's book, John Robbins' book, and was impressed by that he just walked away from an empire and became his own advocate and did his own research. And I thought that was fascinating. And I wanted to hear what Ocean and all the people that he had coming to the event. It was near here in a place called Brighton Bush, about an hour and a half away, but it was during terrible fires. And so we only got to spend one night and hear only a few people. And Ocean's father had open heart surgery right at that same time. So it was a very stressful time for everybody with the fires and with his dad. And so we had to cancel the event. So I still had all the names and all the information, and I just started following people and hearing what they had to say. And it's all in a line with what I believe. So it was easy for me to go that route.
Yeah, that's interesting that your father struggled with his weight and his profession was running weight loss camps.
Yeah, well, that wasn't his profession. He did that for one summer. His profession was an educator. He was a high school coach and teacher. And but being a coach and a teacher, he would weigh 150 pounds up to 300 pounds. He would fluctuate in there. So the stress.
That's a big fluctuation.
Extremely stressful. I became an educator as well, and I taught for 25 years, and it's a very stressful job. So I'm grateful to be retired now.
That is a wide fluctuation of 150 pounds. Has his weight?
He was only 5'8" at his tallest. So, and he was a closet eater, and he liked to drink. So that was a problem. And he didn't drink a lot, but he drank every day when he came home from work. And that was, he'd have a couple of drinks, and that was a problem for him.
Wow.
That and being a closet, he'd hide Oreos or hide whatever he hid. I didn't know that till later when he shared that with me, but that's what happened. But my mom was always real thin until she was in her 50s, and then her body really changed, and she got diabetes, and her lifestyle ended up, I think, causing her to die at a very young age. She was 71 when she died of colon cancer. And so I don't want to have type 2 diabetes. I don't want to have colon cancer. I don't want to have any other kind of cancer. I've already had cancer. So my husband's and my goal is to not be in disease the last 10 to 20 years of our life. And everything I've read says that the majority of Americans are in disease the last 10 to 20 years of their life. They're not healthy. So they're paying a lot of money to stay healthy. And people think taking a pill for high blood pressure or a pill for high cholesterol is keeping them healthy. On the one hand, it is, but you're also poisoning your body with chemicals. So I don't want to have to do that. So my goal is to eat as healthfully as I can, and being whole food plant-based is a way for me to do that. And I feel so much better when I don't have any sugar, I don't have any oil, I don't have any processed food. So it's good for my whole being from head to toe, inside and out.
Yeah. Has your dad's weight remained pretty stable now that he's also eating this way?
Yes, my father has been stable for, he and his wife have been stable for at least 7 to 10 years. They work out every day. They're very, very active. My dad's going on 88, and I think his wife is about 72. So they're very, very active people, and that's good. I'm
Well,
glad.
that's fantastic because if can we say your age? Is that allowed?
Oh, I'm 65. I'm very proud of that. I just turned 65 last month. My Medicare birthday, I joke about that. And I don't know what 65 is supposed to feel like, but I feel great. So I feel joyful and happy and energetic and happy to be on this side of the dirt, as they say.
Well, what's nice is that you and your father and his wife, they all did this at an older age. So people, even if they've suffered for a long time and their weights fluctuate and they think nothing will work, there's hope that it still can.
Right, right. It's a very sustainable, doable, and it's really quite easy. And I know people get afraid. They don't want to miss something that they love, whether it's a steak or a piece of chicken, the way their mom used to make it, whatever it is. But when you learn and you get educated on what goes into all that stuff and why you shouldn't be eating it, it really helps you to choose the path of becoming whole food plant-based.
Well, it's funny. You said you had the key to the pantry. What was in the pantry? Because if it was just fruits and vegetables.
Oh, no, it wasn't fruits and vegetables. It was all the sugary carbs were in the pantry that they hid from the kids and the people who were losing weight. Like they'd get one cookie once in a while. Well, we'd eat the whole package of cookies. My roommate and I, we would just sit in there. We would get a jar of peanut butter and we'd just get a spoon and we'd start eating the peanut butter. I mean, it was just weird, but we were famished. I don't know that I was starving, but I was hungry I was missing fats. I was missing whatever. And there was a nutritionist there who was doing the diet plan for everybody, but it wasn't a diet plan that was working for my body. It was a generic diet plan of, healthy supposed eating.
Was it portion control too?
I think it was more portion control, as I remember. Yes. And that doesn't work, as you and I know, but, learning to eat calorie dense foods like, not oils, but they're at the wrong end of the spectrum. I love the chart that you have, that shows you the green, everything that you can eat that's in the green and everything you should not eat that's in the red section. And there's like a little bit of a yellow section, but you can eat a huge bowl of salad and fill yourself up and then have a baked potato and be satiated. And it took me a while to get into that groove, but it definitely works. So
That's fantastic. So yeah, that just shows about how important environment is, because if you hadn't had the key to the pantry, you wouldn't have been able to get in those snacks. You
sure.
probably would have still been hungry because yeah, you're so right, Lori, portion control. I mean, it does work, but you're going to end up really hungry, but most people can't sustain it because you had a history with Weight Watchers too, didn't you?
Right. I went to Weight Watchers while I was teaching with another teacher. We went and she lost about 5 to 10 pounds, but I gained 5 to 10 pounds. So for me, I don't know what it was, if it if it was the types of food, the combinations of food. And I don't know enough about food combinations to know what works and what doesn't work. But Weight Watchers did not work for me. I gained weight on it. So I am not an advocate of Weight Watchers. I am an advocate of whole food, plant-based eating, and eating the way that you suggest in your book, The Secrets to the Ultimate Weight Loss.
Yeah, thank you. You know, the way I suggest isn't really that much different than most of the plant-based doctors eat. It's just I'm a little bit stricter on the things that people struggle with.
Correct.
When they have food addictions like the sugar, oil, flour, alcohol, and salt, which are things that are, except for salt, are also very calorically dense and processed. And you know, that seems to be the difference, which is for some people, which makes the program harder. Did you find it difficult to adjust to the no sugar, oil, salt, flour, alcohol?
Not at all. You know, I never should have drank anyway. My body can't assimilate it. I come from alcoholics, and fortunately for me, it bypassed me. Um, my I'm allergic to sulfites. Love red wine. Can drink it in Europe. Can't drink it here. So it's better for me if I don't drink it. Fortunately, my husband doesn't drink, so it was very easy to stop drinking. When we were dating, he did buy me very expensive very expensive bottles of wine, and I didn't want them to go to waste. And red wine, you have to drink within 2 to 3 days. So I would drink the whole bottle in 2 to 3 days. But I gained so much weight. And we went to Ireland, and I saw a picture, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So, and that was before we were married. So that's when I went on another program and tried that, and it worked, but it wasn't sustainable. Everything I have tried in the past worked, but wasn't sustainable, from being on medication to diet programs. It wasn't sustainable. Truly being whole food, plant-based, eating foods that are clean and healthy and unprocessed is the only way for my body to be successful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of photos, do you have a before photo that you might
Oh,
be
I
able
do. It's awful, but I'll show it to you.
nobody likes it.
Okay, so that's the before photo. That's in Ireland, and I'm 5'7¾" at my tallest. I have shrunk now. I'm about 5'6" if I'm lucky. So I was somewhere in between that height, but I weighed about 170 pounds here.
Wow.
So when I saw that picture, I just went, well, that's disgusting. Because when you go to shopping and you're looking at clothes, you don't see everything. Your body, your mind doesn't register. But when you see a photo of yourself, your mind registers. So I had a double chin, I had a tummy, I was thick everywhere. And I didn't like the way I looked.
Well, that's the main thing, that you didn't like it, you know?
Right. I didn't like it at all. And I was drinking alcohol still at this time. This was 10 years ago. So yeah.
Do you have a after photo, other than the fact that I can see you are the after photo?
Let me find it.
You need to do one of those things, where people do the side by side.
Yeah, but I don't know how to get that up for you.
If you send it to me, we'll get it done for you.
Okay. Okay. And this was May of 2022 in Lausanne, Switzerland, at the Olympic Museum. So I was about 147 pounds, 145 pounds here.
Well, you got a bigger smile in this one, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, and my legs are thinner. I don't have the tummy. I felt comfortable wearing a short sleeve top, so yeah.
Well, congratulations. I'm sure you must feel so proud of yourself for what you've accomplished. And tell us what you eat, because people are always wondering.
Well, it just depends. Sometimes for breakfast, I have kale and sautéed onion and mushrooms, the way you suggest. And I do that all together, and I love it, with a little garlic. Sometimes depending on the weather, I have oatmeal and fruit. I know you say that's like having cake for breakfast, but when I didn't have that until I got down to the weight I wanted to be.
Just in case people aren't familiar with my work, let's just say that they have to take that in context. It's not, I mean, oatmeal and fruit is an extremely healthy breakfast compared to having
Yes,
a Cinnabon or an Egg McMuffin. But people that are struggling, especially with the last few pounds or food addiction, oatmeal and fruit is just it's wonderful and it's delicious. But I always recommend it as the second breakfast, and to start your day with vegetables or greens if you're having food addictions or sugar addiction issues.
right.
Because greens just annihilate those cravings. And so I lean people more towards savory breakfast, or at least starting in a savory way. But I don't want people to think like I'm anti oatmeal and fruit. It's
No,
just,
I understand.
to me, it is like cake because it's so
Yeah.
sweet. And,
It's very good. I don't need, and I have a banana and berries with it, and it's delicious. And I ate that almost every day during the winter. It's very gray and cold and dark here in the winter. It's for about 7 to 9 months. It's really difficult up here, and that was a good. Even though I was exercising, I still gained weight over the winter. I have another friend. She said the same thing happened to her. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's because our bodies change during different months. If you live in a seasonal place, I don't know what, but anyway, I just I used to make your muffins all the time. Your with the ones with applesauce and the carrots and the zucchini, and you just bake it, and I would have those as my second breakfast. Lunch would be a big salad with sautéed vegetables. Dinner would be, I made your chili recipe and doctored it up a little bit, and it worked for us. And I would have that, or split pea soup in a salad, just always vegetables and fruit. And fruit would be a snack during the day, or vegetables would be a snack. I'll steam vegetables and put them in containers at about a cup and just have them as a snack during the day, or raw vegetables and hummus. And I make oil-free hummus as well. So just stuff like that.
You mentioned
I try not to eat after, I try to eat dinner early and not eat after 6:30 or 7 at night.
Yeah,
yeah.
You mentioned that you do some kind of some kind of batch cooking.
Yeah, well, I like to prep. And so I'll make a huge salad. I bought, when I watched you the first time, and followed you, you did some cooking demonstrations, and you had this wooden bowl with this blade that you could chop things up. I don't know what it's called, but
Bowl. It's called
I bought that, and it's my favorite tool because I can chop everything up really finely in that. And I bought really good knives to use, and I use those, and I just chop all my vegetables up, and my lettuces and my kale, everything, and I put it in a huge bowl. I like to use glass because I'm plastic phobic, but I like to use glass. And it works for me, just putting everything in. I save the tomatoes and the beets for last. I put them in a separate container, but everything's chopped up and put in there that isn't, terribly moist. And sometimes I put a paper towel on top to soak up the excess moisture, but then I take out, I would measure just because it was easier for me. I wasn't necessarily measuring my food, but basically I would eat 3 cups of the mixed salad veggie with garbanzo beans or black beans or kidney beans, whatever kind of bean I put in there. I love the California balsamics that you suggest. The Italian herb is my favorite to have on salad, or I just buy a fire roasted salsa, a fresh salsa, and I use nutritional yeast on everything, and that works for me. So
that sounds delicious. And just so you know, a 7-herb Italian, which is one of my favorites too, he's coming out with a new version of it, I believe in September, where it's going to have sun-dried tomatoes in it. He's working on the tomato pieces small enough. So, and also you get 2 free bottles just for being on the show. So you can pick both 7-herb Italian if you want.
No, but they're great. And the teriyaki one is great over, like when you want to make a bowl of something, with a little bit of brown rice and sauteed veggies and drizzle that on top. It's delicious. So, and the regular one is great too. I've tried the other ones, but those 3 seem to be my favorite, my go-tos all the time. So
That's fantastic. Did you suffer early on with any kind of cravings when you gave up some of these things like alcohol and sugar and flour?
not, I didn't. Sugar is something I go back to every once in a while. Like we once in a while we'll get a plant-based ice cream, vegan ice cream. But when you look at it, you look at the sugar content, it's really high, but it's really good once in a while. But that's very rare. We have those in the house for treats when our grandsons come over for them. Our grandsons eat plant-based when they're with us. They don't eat the way I eat, but I make a lasagna that they like, and they like tacos and that kind of stuff, and they will eat. I will ground up mushrooms and walnuts together to make a taco meat, and they don't know the difference. So
That's
which is good.
fantastic. But you can satisfy that again for ice cream with a machine like a Ninja Creamy.
I didn't know that. I don't have a Ninja Creamy. I have a Bullet, and I have the big blender, the big expensive blender that works really well, but I don't have a Ninja Creamy.
Well, I think those machines are fine too. But what I mean is you can make without sugar, just ice cream based on bananas or other fruits.
I know that. I have not tried it yet. I need to try it.
Well, you better. When did you take Reboot? Because you're going to be joining us again this July, which is great.
It was probably 2021, somewhere 2020, 2021, around in there.
Right.
So
Because
it was
I
a few
want
years ago.
people to know that a lot of people come back even if they've met their goals. So we have people like Susanna and people that are stable with their weight, but they like to join for not just the community, which you get a wonderful community, but they love those 3-hour Q&As that they have with both Dr. Goldhammer and Dr. Lyle.
It's a wonderful program for people because you have people on the people that you've met and that you've acquired to do this with are so knowledgeable and such a wealth of information for anybody. You can ask them anything and they're wonderful. They're straightforward. They'll tell you like it is. But I learned this being a health coach. People have to be ready. They have to want it. It's not, you can hear it, but you have to want it. You have to want to make the changes. And my hope for people is that they would want to live as healthy of a life as they could. I've always believed that my body is a temple. And when I look at the pictures of when I was fat as opposed to now, it's like, I need to treat it like a temple for the rest of my life. If I want to live to be in my 90s or to 100, I need to be able to stay healthy. My dad visited the doctor last year and he told me the doctor said that he had at least 10 more years. Well, that would put him up at 97 or 98. He thinks he has longer than that, but Godspeed to him. I hope he does. I think that
that's interesting, because you mentioned, because you're a health coach and you say people have to be ready, but what do you do with some people, they're never ready.
They're never ready. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. I've tried to help people even in my own family who they've called me, they've said they want the help and they set up appointments, they never keep them. I can't, and then when they're ready, they'll do it, or they won't. Yeah. I am not the one to judge. I am hopeful that I am not very judgmental. I hope people will make the changes for themselves that they need to, even the minor changes, just if you drink a lot, cut back. If you have coffee, cut back. If you make one change a week, good for you. I think that's what's important.
Kind of like tiny habits in a way.
Tiny habits, and you do something for 21 days and it does become a habit,
Right.
and
That's what's great. The Reboot program's 30 days and we hope that some of these habits will stick. Do you still work as a health coach?
I don't see clients anymore. People call me. And I help them. Somebody in fact called me yesterday and she said, I need to talk to you. I've been eating meat and everything and I've been sick for days and I don't know what's up. And I said, well, I said, this is why. She said, I'm trying to cut everything out. And she did cut out meat and chicken and stuff. And I said, you need to cut out the processed foods. I took pictures of all the books that I have and I sent them to her. And I told her that I was being interviewed today and that the Reboot is coming up. And so she wants to also do that. So I need to be able to send her the information for that. But she was concerned about not getting enough protein. And I think that's a concern for a lot of people. And I told her, I said, plants have enough protein in them for you to be sustained. I said, it's a misnomer that people think they need that much protein, and people actually eat too much protein and get sick from it, and your Dr. McDougall's book says that people end up with kidney stones and a lot of other things from eating too much animal proteins. So,
it's interesting because you said about people having to be ready. And I think that's true to a large extent, but I also think even if people aren't ready, they should consider doing a program like this or other program, because sometimes you never know, they may become ready during the program, because I always a saying that I used to hear, the road to someday leads to never. And we only offer this program twice a year at most, usually once a year. And a lot of people say, well, I'll wait till the next time. And, if you keep waiting, it may be too long. But a lot of times, when I think of things like, the cruises where people go, maybe they're vegan and they bring their kids or spouse who aren't, maybe they're not ready to make the change, but they go to the lectures, they eat the food, and they hear something, they're like, maybe I can do this. So I think that I don't think, because if you wait for the perfect time, it's never going to happen.
Oh, I agree with you 100% about that. I wish this program was somehow made public so people knew about it and could just do it, because it's such a good program and it's so easy to follow. The information is easy to digest and easy to understand, and the food is easy, and everything about it is very easy to follow. It's not a difficult program at all. People need to understand that being whole food plant-based isn't a diet, it's a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle change that you make to make yourself a better person inside and out for the rest of your life, and more healthy person inside and out for the rest of your life.
Was there anything that you found particularly hard about the program?
There were foods I didn't necessarily like, and lentils don't agree with me. I'm not a lentil person, so I have to use something else other than lentils. So that would be the only thing. I didn't think it was difficult for me, and I don't know if it's because I was a pescatarian before. I miss cheese once in a while, but that's okay. It's not good for me. So I know it's not good for me. I'm allergic to dairy. I'm allergic to stuff, but it's not good for me. Growing up, I was lactose intolerant, but didn't know it. So there weren't tests for being allergic to milk when you're a kid. And I was fed everything dairy as a child. Milk, cheese, ice cream, everything, and was sick. I was sick all the time and didn't know till I was older that the reason I was sick was because of that. So
that's interesting. What was your favorite part of the Reboot program? Some people say it's the community. Some people say it's the daily modules. A lot of people say it's the 6 hours of Q&A where they can ask questions to Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer.
I just looked forward to watching it every day, just watching it. I didn't need the question and answer part. That wasn't something that I really watched, but I just liked listening to what you had to say, listening to what they had to say, validating things that I knew, learning more things. I'm a lifelong learner, and I just love listening to what people have to say about your health and how to be healthy for the rest of your life. So for me, it was the whole package of being able to click on it and watch it and learn from it every day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What would you say to someone who's given up hope that they could ever do any kind of program or lose weight? Maybe they've tried several times only to gain it back.
Well, I could tell you that I'm that person who has tried numerous things like you have, has tried numerous things to lose weight and been disgruntled with myself. I think we're hardest on ourselves. We are the hardest people on our own self. And I would tell them to give it a try, because what have you got to lose but an extra 10, 15, 20, 100 pounds? If you go this route, I promise you will be healthy, you will feel better, and you will lose weight. It's that easy.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you and chat with you.
I will see you in the program because, you know, the thing is, as long as people turn their cameras on, we actually do see each other. Not every, it's done on Zoom. So some people choose to not have their camera on, but if you have it on, I will see you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that the first time around. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
oh, absolutely. I think maybe when we first started it, we might have not been doing it with the option. We might have been using the webinar thing, but at least
oh,
the last several times, that's why it's really important. So when you go to the bathroom, turn your camera off.
that's
Leave
good
it.
to remember. That's good to remember.
That's
Thank you so much.
really,
It's been a
really good.
pleasure. Thank you
Oh,
so
th-
much.
thank you, Lori. And thanks all of
Okay.
you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for another fabulous guest.